acá los que van más o menos y acá los avanzados.
And we had 1 to 2 volunteers leading each group.
Y teníamos 1 o 2 voluntarios con cada grupo.
We followed the Maestro en Casa books, but as you can imagine, with such a diverse group of learners, we departed from them too.
Y teníamos el programa de Maestro en Casa y usábamos los libros, pero con un grupo tan diverso, pues usábamos otros materiales también.
When groups wanted to dive deeper into campus-related and real-life topics, we kept everything practical.
Y cuando los estudiantes decían, yo quiero aprender más de cosas prácticas, pues nos íbamos a eso.
How to sign your child in and out of school.
Por ejemplo, ¿cómo sacar a tu hijo de la escuela?
How to make a doctor's appointment.
¿Cómo hacer una cita con tu médico?
And what the latest events happening at DOS were.
Y también, ¿qué es lo que está pasando en la escuela de DOS?
At the same time, we connected over shared experiences, exchanged cultural traditions, and especially around the holiday time.
Y nos conectamos porque participamos en las fiestas y celebraciones de otros.
The instructors became the students, and we were all learning and growing from this beautiful exchange.
Pero lo más bonito fue que los que éramos maestros estábamos aprendiendo. Nos convertimos en alumnos también.
During our second to last class, the group of beginner student learners pleaded with their dedicated instructor to continue until the end of the school year.
Durante nuestra penúltima clase, los estudiantes nos rogaron, por favor, que no se termine, queremos seguir.
Our more advanced learners also wanted to continue to meet, connect, and practice even without a volunteer present.
Y los más avanzados dijeron, aunque no venga el maestro, venimos nosotros.
So even though graduation is tonight, DOS Elementary is continuing our weekly classes for the next 6 weeks.
Y aunque la graduación es hoy, estos de DOS no van a dejar de ir a la escuela, van a seguir.
We are so grateful for the district for developing this program and enabling us to help each other.
Estamos muy agradecidos al distrito escolar porque ha permitido el desarrollo de este programa.
Thank you.
That works. 5, 4, 3, 2. Vamos a arreglar este asunto del audio. Gracias. Los códigos se anoten.
We are live streaming right now. Once we get our technology working, they'll be able to hear everything. And so that's why we really want to be able to use the mics for all of our questions and answers, so our audience at home is able to hear.
Hey. Check. Hi. Sorry. Check. Yeah, that did so now. Check. All right.
Okay, I'm just going to stand right here and say everything again for our YouTube audience. Welcome to our Q&A session. Apologies for the technical difficulties as we're doing this in person, but we are agile and we can figure it out. So this is Norma. She is going to say everything in Spanish for our Spanish audience.
Muchas gracias, Cristina. Estamos cuidando los detalles de la reunión. Está siendo por YouTube. Entonces necesitamos que el audio se escuche muy bien. Igual con las preguntas, requerimos aquí haciendo la pregunta para que los del streaming estén pasando la reunión. Importante. De interpretación en la entrada y escuchar si prefieren la sesión en español.
Okay, So we have a facilitator for this conversation to be sure that we have a really strong conversation and everyone has a good understanding and has the space to ask their questions. And so with that, I'm going to just turn it over to our facilitator, Sajade, who's going to kick us off and get started.
Good morning. Sound like I'm yelling. I'm going to project my voice so that we can make communication, but I'm also going to keep the mic so when it does connect, we'll be able to communicate with people virtually. Is that okay? Thank you guys for your patience. So glad you guys are here tonight. My name is Sajade Miller, and I'm honored to facilitate today's conversation on behalf of Long Game Consulting in partnership with Austin ISD. This is one of many conversations that are taking place around the district to ensure voices of community and families is clear, and elevated, and taken into consideration as the leadership team creates an iterative plan for the consolidation and boundary adjustments for the school district. These conversations touch the hearts of the communities, the schools, the students, and the shared hope. And with understanding and with respect for the range of emotions and perspectives that are represented here today. With that, committed to transparency, to empathy, and to ensuring that the community is engaged through authentic dialogue. Our outcomes for today are simple, and to share information clearly, to listen deeply, and to answer as many questions as possible. I do ask that you bear with us as we facilitate a conversation that will inform not only the plan, but the process as the leaders go about the business of ensuring a bright future for Austin Independent School District. With that, I do want to cover a few norms for today. Simple principles that will allow us to make sure all voices are heard and respected. The first norm is honor time, and we time. But there are some time constraints throughout the day that will ensure that we are able to keep appropriate pacing and that all voices can be heard. The second one is honor each other, making sure that we're not making public attacks and that we don't interrupt anyone when they're speaking. The next one is honor the process. It's a process through it, again, answer as possible. And then lastly is honor empathy. We all have the opportunity to lead and follow with passion, and that you join us in honoring. And with that being said, I'll come back to go over protocol and exactly how we're going to do the question and answer in a way to ensure as many people as possible can be heard. But I do want to invite you guys to, there's a QR code. The QR code with the question is how you provide live comments or pose questions live. So if you can, if you look, there are posted in different places throughout the building, but we do have a comment card for you to fill out. Based off of that, we'll call you to the microphone, post your questions, or share your comments. So, additional comments on and the plan. The superintendent of Austin Independent School District.
Check. Let's try this one. All right.
Testing.
Check.
Testing.
Okay.
All right. Stand too far away from y'all. First off, thank you so much for coming out this Saturday morning. I know it's been a long week. It's been a long semester. It's really been a long. There's a lot happening in our school district, and I so much appreciate sharing with us your thoughts, your concerns. This is what it's all about. You know, here in Austin ISD, we believe in engagement. We understand that we are only going to be better and can support our families and students better if we have a better understanding of your lived experiences. And so we are a comprehensive effort. We've been talking about it for several months now, and I want you all to kind of, help me to ultimately move this district forward. So right now in Austin ISD, Y'all know them. Our community knows them. I think it's worth naming. Right? We've been coming to the period of the pandemic hit us hard. You had multiple changes in leadership. You know, like really trying to get foundation of education in our school system back into AISD. We had mass vacancies after the pandemic. Putting in systems. Every year we're tackling something huge. We have been. We also have to consider the changes in the legislative environment around Austin and Texas, the fact that the state is not funding public education. You have advocates in this community trying desperately to get the legislature to do something. And they did a little bit, and it's helped. But it doesn't come close to actually offsetting the rising cost of education. The federal government, the changes at the federal level have had significant impacts on our school district. You may not often hear these changes are real. Loss in Title II, III, and IV funding. Those dollars go to support our students historically served. You know, Title I dollars, they're here for now. But the structure and how they're going to be deployed moving forward is going to impact how we're able to use them. And so when you think about where we are as a school district with declining enrollment and the fact that we have to address an ever-changing system, we needed to take on something allowed and move us forward. So when we took this plan on, there were 5 things. And I'm sure by now you probably heard me say these 5 things several times. And we are still committed in addressing these and making sure that as a school district, when we look back years from now, we're able to do something substantial around these 5 elements. The first one, aligned feeder patterns in Austin. You do not have aligned feeder patterns in much of Austin ISD. What does that mean? It means that we have elementary schools that go to 2, 3, and 4 middle schools. That happens right now. We have middle schools that go to 3, 4, and 5 high schools. Dobie, Mendez, Webb. When you have that type of feeder pattern, you cannot keep community together. Right? You lose out on the ability to align programming in the way that you would otherwise. We do have feeder patterns that are aligned, but they're not in East Austin. So if we're going to do something, and we're going to do something together, we have to tackle aligned feeder patterns. 2, we have transfer policies that have been in place for decades. And the reason that they're put in place had good intentions, but we've evolved. And the lack of controls in Austin ISD and how they've been used has led to imbalances in our system. We've got to address it. So you'll see changes in our transfer policy as part of this as well. 3, we have a budget deficit that we've been managing now for 2.5 going on 3 years. Right? And people will ask, Matthias, like this, what happened? You know, are you misspending? Like, what's going on? I promise you, we have been cutting where we can, protecting what's important, including librarians, nurses, staff time for planning, curriculum that aligns with our values. All those things take resources. And we've agreed to protect them. We've made significant cuts in staff at central office. We've reduced everywhere that we can. But we're at a point where we need to look at the inefficiencies in our school. And when we talk about that as a district, one way to evaluate it is the number of empty seats that you have. And we have over 20,000. This auditorium fits about 4,800. I know that because we've had graduations here that I've overseen. So 5 of these empty is roughly around what we have. And that's a pretty conservative number because we take adjustments for different programmings at schools. And so I want you to know, as a school district, we have to address all of these things as well as the ever-shifting accountability system. We've been working really hard the last several years, right, to ensure that all of our students get what they need to be academically successful. And there's evidence that the system is responding. You know, we think about where we were in 22, 23. We had 30 campuses coming out of the pandemic, lots of changes in administration. There was lots of pressures. At that time, the year before, in 21, 22, we had dozens of schools that then turned into F schools in 23. Think about that. Same students, same teachers. And so we start there. In 24, we had 29. And then in 25, you have 23. And this coming year, we'll have way fewer. And we have to address this because I promise you, if we do not, there is a risk of state intervention. And we are a very healthy, vibrant school system. But if we don't address these challenges that are not ours to set, they're the state's to set, we could lose control of our ability to educate our students here in Austin. And it's happening right now in Fort Worth, our sister school district. It can happen. We as a school district and our board want to ensure that you as citizens in Austin ISD, as community members in Austin ISD, have the ability to determine how our students are educated. It's critically important. And so, through all of this work, we developed a comprehensive plan. No plan is perfect. It's impossible. But what we need to do is ensure that we execute well. And I've seen Austin ISD develop plans in the past and not execute well. We had that in 23, where we moved sixth graders out of Martin and Mendez. Did it in April. We could barely recover. We launched the 23-24 school year, and we were not prepared. And our students suffered. So when we think about these big decisions, the one thing I cannot take away from families is time to plan. Which is why you're never going to see me make a decision or recommend a change in the spring semester. It has to be the fall. So that the registration process, the planning process, the communication and support efforts are all there, and then we have a successful launch at the start of the next school year. So there have been some changes in the plan. Earlier this week, I sent a letter to our entire community sharing that I was going to change the timeline. And I want to address it immediately because I'm sure one of you will have a question around this, and I don't want it to linger. I am a process person. For me, it's process, process, process. If we can agree that the process is sound, relying on the best data that we have, that all ideas were explored, and that we put the energy and the time to truly listen to community and incorporate their voice, then that's what we get behind. And unfortunately, in the last week, there are some things shared with me that led me to have concerns that some of the voice around the refinements on boundary changes and consolidations tied to balanced enrollment were not fully vetted. So in order to ensure that, I wanted to make sure we had more time. And so I understand it's a disruption. I'm very frustrated. I'm disappointed. But this is the honest truth. And so I want to make sure that we have a time to have conversations with our community. You're out here on a Saturday. I want to make good use of the time. I also want you to know that we're still exploring. As you know, last week and the week before, we've had work sessions with our trustees, and ideas come out. And I have to explore those ideas. I see the Garza family here and community here. That's awesome. That's exactly what we want. And for me and for us, it's about having conversations, exploring, understanding, and getting to a place to determine if we can go that way or if we need to make an adjustment. But I will always, always explore. We have to. All right. I've said a lot. I don't want to take too much time. I want to make sure that y'all's voice gets into the conversation. So I'm happy to either start taking questions and providing answers, whatever would make the best use of our time together. All right, Christina.
I do want to respect the individuals that did sign up via the QR code, and so I have a list, and it's over there. I'm going to get it, and then I'll come back. Okay. So our first speakers, did y'all take away? Okay. We'll do Jesse Like, Kristen Davis, and Jillian Griffin at this microphone right here. And then, okay, we're just going to use one mic. And then after that, Laura Dablin, Brad Strasser, and then Eric Ramos. So all of you can come up to this mic, and we'll go one by one to ask your questions, and then we'll have the appropriate staff respond.
Check.
I can hear you.
I want to make sure the people online can hear me. You can hear me on it?
Hello.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jessie Leak. I'm a 2009 graduate of Gonzalo Garza Independence High School. As a teenager, I was on the verge of dropping out, struggling with instability and mental health challenges. Then I found Garza, a school that met me where I was and gave me the tools to rebuild my future. Because of Garza, I graduated, pursued higher education, and became an attorney. Now AISD is threatening Garza's proven model with a rushed move, removing Garza from a campus that is able to accommodate important programs like a daycare and classes that allows for students to gain hands-on experience taking care of the animals they love. This school is not broken. It is a nationally recognized success story that fulfills AISD's mission to prepare every student to thrive in college, career, and life. To dismantle or haphazardly change this school at the 11th hour is to gamble with other students' lives the way mine was saved by Garza. My question to you is, why would AISD try to threaten the future of and change a school that not only provides the necessary services and classes to ensure the success of at-risk students, but demonstrably delivers on AISD's mission under the guise of a last-minute, poorly planned move, risking the futures of the very students that the district says it exists to prepare?
Yeah. So you said there's a comment you said there about not understanding, I think, the importance of Garza. Like that is not. I've never said that. I believe in Garza. The work that Principal Nichols is doing out there, the work that has been done out there. I am a believer. So I just want to be really, really clear. That's not what this is about. As I said when I opened up, I am trying to address many things at once. This is an idea. There is not a plan. There haven't been lots of conversations. Those have to occur before anything happens. What we were trying to explore was being responsive to a couple things. The first is that we've had community meetings at Martin. And one of the things that we have talked about is wanting to activate Martin soon and not waiting the years that are typically required to plan and build up a new campus. So that's one of the things that we heard and has been shared with us over and over and over again. I want to be responsive to that. The other thing that I've heard over the years is that the programming at Garza is incredible. I've been to Garza many times. I understand. Trust me, I know lots of. I have been to Garza several times, and an expansion of the program. The other thing that I have to address is that the Alternative Learning Center is at a campus currently shared with a partner, and if Mendez ultimately comes back to Austin ISD, which it will, then how do I kind of address all of these moves and also be responsive to community voice? So this was an idea that was brought about and shared in a work session. And as I've told our community, as I've told our trustees, I will explore. So there isn't a plan, there isn't a process. It's an idea in its infancy. And the one thing we talk about, and we say it all the time, is that buildings are buildings and programs are programs. And I know it doesn't feel like that, and I can certainly say that it's very different at Garza, but programs can move. They have. We're 144 years old. Programs move from time to time. And so I am committing to doing the work, to having conversations with the community around these ideas and others like it. And there are other ideas that came out of that work session that I'm also exploring. So I want you to know we are not wanting to dismantle Garza at all. We are wanting to understand how to address and support multiple things within AISD and recognize that anytime one thing occurs, there are adjacent programs, adjacent schools that also have to be considered. So that's what it is.
Thank you.
Oh, if you want, we're trying to get more, but I'll be here after too. We can talk about it.
We'll have the next person come
I'm sorry?
up, please.
Well, yeah, we can wait.
Oh, hold on. They need to use the mic.
Yeah, we need to use the mic. But
Give me 1 second. If we can, we have people joining us virtually, and we have a list of people who have signed up to speak, so I want to honor everyone's time.
Yeah.
And our next speaker is right here. We're going to let her speak. And the QR code.
Hi, my name is Kristen Davis. I am the parent of a 4th grade dual language student at Joslyn. I live right around the corner. I've lived there for 20 years. It's not clear from the district's most recent communications what the future plans are for our school. As a school community, we want to be able to continue to engage in constructive conversation with the district and the board, but it's really hard for us to do that without knowing what future potential plans are. We are exceptionally appreciative of the hard work of the district and how diligently the district has worked to accommodate our concerns about a potential shift from a neighborhood school to a non-zone foreign language immersion campus. But it's hard for us to know how to continue to engage in conversation when we don't know the current state of the district's thinking. When will the district release a copy of the draft that the board will vote on November 20th?
And this is something that we are been striving to clarify with communication to each school community that's been going through a change. Because we are moving forward with the program moves as well as the turnaround plan, consolidations and moves associated with those, the other elements of the plan, including the boundary change and the kind of non-campus-wide program moves are going to continue on. So for Joslyn specifically, like in this moment, as we tackle the vote that's occurring on the 20th, Joslyn is continuing on in its current state. There's not a change to your current configuration, but I will say that I am committed to continuing on with the full plan as we go through refinements. The question is, when does it come back? Right now, we have about a month left before the end of this semester. We don't necessarily have the same resources and ability to go through and make sure that everything is where it needs to be and that we get all community voice into the next version that would consider kind of what Joslyn may be moving forward. We are not going back to zero. We are not starting over. We are merely making sure that all the refinements, all the community voice that needs to be considered and incorporated into the plan does. So for right now, Joslyn is continuing on. We are going to be submitting updated documents on Friday, this coming Friday. But I want to be really, really clear. It's going to look different than the previous submission, right? So the last submission had everything, right? It was a 90-page document and it had all the supplemental documents. It's going to look very different because I'm going to pull out of that plan what is required for the board vote. So you're going to see the boundary changes and the assignments for the 10 schools, and then all the others will not be included because there isn't effectively a change that the board is making. Is that helpful? Yes. So on November 20th, there's not a vote to change the current configuration of Joslyn. That's the clearest way I can say it. All right. Of course.
We'll have the next speaker come up.
Well, okay. So we'll have Jillian Griffin. Followed by Laura Datlin.
Hi, my name is Jillian Griffin, and I'm a parent at Zavala Elementary, and my question is two parts. One, is the district still considering Zavala as a non-zone Montessori program? And if so, will that be up for vote on November 20th? And if it is, when will our community be given the opportunity to provide in-person feedback? Our community meeting was held before that change was possible.
Yeah, I talked to, a lot of Zavala in the house. So this is the supporters. So this is the way, and I talked to Principal Hill, and we've had conversations. Whenever there's an idea, and this is the challenge with ideas, is that it creates a reaction in the community, and I understand that. But I also do not want to take community time if I know it's not something that actually can be supported. And so right now, and I'm sure that for those of you that were paying along to the last work session, there was concerns around having students in the neighborhood not be able to go to the neighborhood school that was constructed for them. And you think about the movement between Sanchez, Zavala, Ortega, and Go Valley, there doesn't appear to me to be a desire to create a disruption across the three, right? Ortega, Zavala, and Go Valley. That being said, I had a community meeting with Wynn Montessori last Monday. And what I heard loud and clear from that community was a desire to stay kind of closer to where they currently are, right? Now, if I set a community meeting to talk about a change for Wynn to Zavala, I would only do that if I knew that we were far enough along and I felt like it was something that was actually going to occur or that I would be able to support. And this is where it's really, really tough, because what I don't want to do is to go to the community meeting and know deep down like this is not something I'm going to be able to support, but because I haven't completed the loop of due diligence and kind of questions and answers, if we can even do it, it creates this kind of lack of really, it's an introduction of frustration in the community. And so that's where we are. So if there's a change, there will be a community conversation. Where we are right now, what I've heard from our trustees and from community is that there's a real concern around the disruption between those three schools. I am not yet prepared to say that we won't get there, but I can tell you right now that based on what I've heard from Wynn, what I've heard from Go Valley, what I've heard from our trustees, what I've heard from our community, which is kind of one of the challenging things with this job, I'm not quite ready to have a community meeting because I'm not sure that it's going to make. Does that make sense? So, and it's hard because I don't want to go to Ortega, have a community meeting, and go to, because if I go to Zavala, then I'm going to go to Ortega. And if there's a very slim chance that it's going to be supported, then I don't want to create that concern in the community. But I also can't just say no because I don't have enough due diligence that's been completed with the Wynn community and the updates from the trustees based on the feedback that I've gotten. So it's kind of a weird way to say that, and I really apologize. I know you want me to say it won't be on the list, but I'm trying to kind of communicate to you the probability, I think, of it getting on the list. That's helpful. I'm sorry, I know it's really frustrating, but that's what makes this job really tough is I don't want to create stress at the Zavala community if I know that it may not ultimately be the location and have a very low probability of actually being the location. And it's also challenging whenever a school gets named because it's just an idea and because this is what happens. And that's what we want to happen, right? I want you to ask questions. So I appreciate y'all coming out, and that's exactly where we're at in the process. But if anything changes, I promise you, Principal Hill, Dr. Stevens at Ortega, we will be on top of it. We'll be having conversations, but that's just where we are.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll go for Laura Dablin, followed by Brad Strasser.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. I'm Laura DeBlaine. I'm a parent at Blackshear Elementary School, and my question is about the timeline for providing feedback from the comment card period from October 31st to November 12th. On October 3rd, our school understood that we would be remaining at the Blackshear campus, and then we received a significant update on the 31st. So we've been submitting comment card 2, and we're looking forward to our meeting with you next Wednesday.
Yep.
we have some concerns about moving the school community, to the Blackshear campus and then back to another campus and having additional changes. We have some families that were affected by prior Sanchez and Metz or Brook consolidations, and we have displaced families because of the City of Austin construction at the Rosewood Courts apartment complex, and we'd like stability for our kids. Yeah. So we're looking forward to discussing those and other questions with you next Wednesday, but my main question is about the process. How will the input from this comment card 2 period be provided by next Wednesday, the 12th, and then incorporated into a plan that will be made available and voted on the 20th?
Yeah. So great question. We are, as they come in, like we're evaluating, we're incorporating, and so that for those of you that may not know what's occurring between Oak Springs and Blackshear was an idea that came out of the Greater Calvary Church conversation where the idea was Oak Springs to Blackshear, and then complete the construction of Oak Springs, and then move the new school, which included both student populations, back to the new campus, right? A modernized, fully modernized campus. The reason that we ended up with Blackshear as the preferred initial location because of the historic nature of Blackshear, right? We certainly recognize its proximity to HT. We understand kind of all the great things that occur, and we have to also break the turnaround plan. We have to break the accountability chain at Oak Springs, right? So all this is coming together. In either case, Oak Springs is going to have to move to Blackshear, just to be like 100% clear, because that's the only thing that would be accepted in the turnaround plan, right? The question, and that would then merge the attendance boundary, which is the action the board needs to take. The board has the authority to bring 2 boundaries together, and that's what they would be doing in that action. The final home for the new student population can be identified now, or it can be identified at a later date. An example of this that occurred in Austin ISD was when Metz and Sanchez came together. At the time, it wasn't clear which school would actually be the school that was receiving, and the board at that time in 2019 merged the boundaries, and then we worked with the community to figure out, okay, well, where's the school going to be? I don't want to take that long. Like, it's going to go fairly quickly because I want certainty in our community. But in either case, starting next year, Oak Springs will be at Blackshear. The question is, in 2 years, is there a new building at Oak Springs? And if so, will the student population be of the combined attendance boundary? So I look forward to the conversation. Again, that's one of those things that came out of community. We're analyzing it. We're assessing it. There are lots of people who are engaged in the conversation. Trustee Hunter is very engaged. So that's where we are. And as comments come in, we address them and we incorporate them into our revisions in the plan. So it may be, because of where we are, that the action is actually merging the boundaries and then more time to figure out where the school is, because that vote is not required at this time. Because y'all have to go together at Blackshear, period, in 26, 27. Is that helpful?
I just wanted to make sure that, by submitting comment card 2, we'll have the meeting with you next week. It just feels compressed, but if we focus on that, then you and the team will be receiving that information. Because we had some, even as of 2 days ago, we were telling families, did you see the email from last Friday? And they'd be like, no, and hey, read the email, there's changes to our school. So we just want to make sure we're using our time effectively.
Yeah, and this is one of those things, if community gives us an idea that we think could work, we're going to explore it, and we want to get both communities together and talk and see what we can do, and that's our approach, and so it takes more time, it can be compressed, but I'm committed to doing that work, for sure. And honestly, we get better solutions at the end of the day, generally, if we test the system or test the plan. Sorry, I know you're about to stand up 3 times, and I kept talking.
Okay, so we have Brad
Going through
Strasser,
in my head.
followed by Eric Ramos.
Hi, I'm Brad Strasser, a parent at Wooten Elementary and also a parent of a special needs student. We chose Wooten, which is one of the further schools in our area because of their ECSE program, and our son has made great strides going there. And in fact, 25% of the population of the students at Wooten are in the SPED program. So under the proposed plan, it seems like by making Wooten a non-zoned school, a lot of these non-zoned dual language school, a lot of these students will be pushed off to some other school rather than the new state-of-the-art building that's being constructed for them right now. So I guess my question is, what is the plan for making sure that there is, a place for these students, that they have a good facility, and that they can continue on at the, school where there's, an opportunity to have a state-of-the-art facility with good education and kind of a magnet for that program.
Yeah, no, great question. So one of the things that we're really intentional about in this plan is anytime we have a non-zone campus, and our 4 wall-to-walls currently do have a zone and are going to non-zone, we still want the community. We actually very much want the community who is in the previous reside attendance boundary to be welcome and to be seen in that campus. And so the transition plan includes a lot of adjustments, including transportation. When it comes to students receiving special education services, we want to provide those services closest to where the student is. Wooten and our programs, like we have students that receive special education services in all types of different programs. That's what we want, right? Everybody needs the rigor, everybody needs the vibrant educational experience that Austin ISD intends to provide. Regarding the specific resources that your son receives, we would go through a process because, it's likely, I don't want to talk about your student, but I will say generally, we are prepared in transition plan to ensure that your student is welcome, and if they're at that school, they can stay at that school, and we provide the supports. That's how we're approaching it. I don't know, Dr. Cherry Lee, if anything you want to add. She's our assistant superintendent of special education. Can provide more clarity around process.
Yeah, thank you for that question, and thank you for being here and representing your community and your student. So specific to special education students, I just want to say that, first of all, our students that are receiving special education are general education students first, right? We want them to have access to all of the services and supports available to all students in our school district, right? And we know that your student is eligible for additional supports and services so that he can access his education. When we're talking about the dual language wall-to-wall elementary campuses that have been proposed, the 4 campuses, we are going to offer a full continuum of services. So if your family were to apply to one of those schools, to enroll in one of those schools, your student would receive all of the services that he is currently receiving at Wooten, right? So he would be eligible to receive all of those services at the dual language wall-to-wall campuses. That's true for any student receiving special education that would choose to go to one of the wall-to-wall dual language schools that's in their region, right? So that's going to be true, including if your son was eligible for transportation, he would be provided that service as well. We will have the majority of our schools will be offering a full continuum of services, but there are some specific services like early childhood special education for our students that are 3 to 5-year-olds receiving special education, or our students with more complex needs that may be receiving life skills services that would not be available at every elementary school in the school district. So in those cases, those students may receive a centralized placement because we would be clustering some of those services across elementary schools at specific locations. At our middle schools and our high school, there will be a full continuum of services for all students. So we would not be looking at centralized placements at those schools. When we're considering the consolidation process, we want to consider number 1, students, number 2, families, and number 3, staff. Those are all equally important. So when I listed the numbers, but all of those are equally important. So we want to give our teachers that will be providing special education services additional time to plan and prep and schedule for those receiving students with the receiving campus, right? Because there will be staff that will be joining together. They haven't worked together before. They will be looking at new students that are joining the campus. So support for staff will be provided that they will receive additional functional pay before school starts to be able to plan and prep to be able to receive students. Another consideration that we have is for families to be able to have additional time to visit the school with their students and meet their new case manager, right? Meet their newly assigned speech pathologist prior to school starting and prior to the general meet the teacher night, right? So that will be additional support for your family. And the special education team, in addition to all of us here, look forward to, visiting with families about their concerns so we can really build that support system together. So I would love to follow up with you after as well if you're here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And before we get there, while you're walking up, I just want to remind everyone, because I've seen some people walk in, if you would like to sign up to speak, there's some QR codes around that you can put your name in the queue. Okay, so we'll have Eric Ramos, then Liz Rush Smith.
All right, so as she said, my name's Eric Ramos. I'm a staff member at Martin for 11 years now. And I just want to start off by once again reminding y'all that schools are not dollar signs, buildings, and names. They are the students, the community partners, the families, the staff that make it up. And I say that because I kind of felt like a slap in the face when I heard they all were considering moving Garza, not because there's anything wrong with Garza, but because that is not a community school. So to say that you are reopening us by moving them there is not factual. You are moving Garza there. To legitimately reopen us, you need to meet with the community to hear what we want. And so I guess to ask a question would be, do we have to solidify what looks next by November 20th? Are we able to say, yes, we're going to close it and buy time to truly meet with the community about what we want? Because it feels like in our vertical team, every time we get a win, we go 10 steps back. And I'm asking for us to do the right thing by us just this one time, finally.
Yeah, so to be clear, no one thinks that schools are just buildings, dollars. I mean, we understand like that we can have an incredible school and a sea of portables. It's our educators, our students. That is what we're doing. That is what we believe in. The challenge is, in order to have those resources, in order to pay our educators, in order to make sure we have the resources for our students, that requires money. It's all connected. I know we don't want to talk about them together, but unless we can ensure that we have our educators in the classroom, we will not be able to ensure that our students get what they need. That's just the honest truth. And if that is why it's all connected. And so I never want anybody to leave and say that Matthias cares about buildings. That's not this. So the reason we talked in the idea, just to be clear, because I went to the Martin community meeting and the conversation was sooner rather than later. I heard that loud and clear from lots of people in the Martin community. Would you agree? Okay. So when I hear that, and I also hear from other community members around wanting to not wait 2 years, which is what the Texas Education Agency would probably require because of the planning in order to build out a program, going and hiring the staff, working with community, you're 2 years out. And so we were exploring an idea about activating the site with students who are AISD students. So it wasn't about Garza, and it was about having students in the community that are also ISD students. That was really the genesis idea. So please do not leave this meeting so one moment, Eric, we go back. Let me finish up. The last thing I want to say is we do not have to have extreme clarity in what we want or what the idea needs to be to open Martin again. We don't need to have that. But I've also heard from individuals in the community as well as some of our trustees that having that clarity keeps the administration accountable, right? So I'm kind of in this spot where I need to communicate that we're going to do something, the timeline in which we're going to do it, and then also recognize that over here there's pressure to do something sooner than later. So just that is the genesis of the idea. I'm hearing now that, and I understand that is maybe not, that's the tension in the process. And I'm happy to make adjustments and continue to do what we've always done, refine and improve. So we don't need to have extreme clarity, but I would think our board of trustees are going to want to know, Matthias, what are the ideas that you are going to explore with community to ensure that I actually execute? So that's kind of how it got to be the way it is.
I just wanted to clarify real quick. I just want to say, I wasn't necessarily saying that that's what you think. I'm telling you, I just want to let you know how it's perceived by people when we hear it. Like, I wasn't trying to say that that's what you believe. I just wanted to clarify.
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And as you walk up, as Liz walks up, I just want to have Norma clarify for our Spanish-speaking audience that we will be able to take questions in Spanish through interpretation.
Gracias, Cristina. Just one moment. Por favor, familias que preferimos español, queremos oír sus voces. Con toda confianza, pueden tomar un turno para hacer su pregunta. Nuestros compañeros de interpretación están por allá para poder hacer la interpretación al inglés, pero con toda confianza, esa es una buena oportunidad de poder hablar con el superintendente y todo nuestro equipo para resolver cualquier duda que tengamos. Recuerden que este plan va a votación el 20 de noviembre y estamos ya unos días. Aprovechen esta oportunidad. Si tienen dudas, por favor, con toda confianza. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll pass it over to Liz, and after Liz, Ignacio Cruz.
Hi. Thanks for being here, everyone. I'm a Becker and a Lively Middle School parent. And first and foremost, I do want to say, like, on the mic, that we love these schools. And that's thanks to the amazing teachers, the admins, and the staff at all of these schools. We can all agree on that. They are doing the work every day at these campuses. So I'm curious today, what consideration has been put forward for the proposal for a fifth wall-to-wall program in South Central Austin, one where we can finally center and prioritize emergent bilingual students via the enrollment process. And additionally, I'd like AISD to prioritize maintaining a pre-K through 12 DL track for the Bolden neighborhood, as has historically been in place and is a big part of our neighborhood culture.
So thank you. So my daughter went to Lively. So this is Yvette Cardenas, our Executive Director of Multilingual Education. So as I've said, and will continue to commit to, is we're exploring all ideas. And so the idea that is being referenced is a fifth wall-to-wall dual language program at Dawson. That's the idea that we received. And continuing on with a wall-to-wall dual language program at Sanchez, but created a new one that combines Becker, Dawson, and students from Galindo. So that's just everybody's awareness, because I wanted to make sure that when we're responding to it, everybody understood what we were talking about. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for that question. So as Superintendent Segura was saying, we have received the proposal. That is my homework over the weekend. So I am actually looking at the viability of that, right? Like where our emergent bilingual students are, what that plan would look like, and what that means for the plan that we already have in place for Sanchez as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the one thing I also want to be clear about is because everything's interwoven in this plan, we want to be really honest that if you do not move forward with the existing plan, then the turnaround plan at Sanchez changes significantly, right? Because the TA requirements for a turnaround plan are reassignment, restart, or an 18A2 partner if you're a 3UA. And one of the things that this plan endeavored to do was to reduce the number of closures in one part of town, right, which is what we've historically seen. And so if this plan were to go, we don't need necessarily 5 wall-to-wall dual language programs because of what we already have as far as dual language across the district. Over 50 campuses have dual language programs. We understand the value and the access that we can provide to non-emergent bilingual students with these programs, and we lean into it. That's why we do it the way we do it. But I also want to be really honest that Sanchez now, the turnaround plan for Sanchez would be compromised in a pretty significant way. And it may lead to either Sanchez being vacant for a year, because in order to break the accountability chain, have to reassign the students at Sanchez. Having it be unzoned still allows the neighborhood students to come, but I'd have to go through a complete restart. And that's, again, one of those things where the agency is really trying to understand, are you doing it in a way that is in alignment with the requirements? How are you going to ensure students are going to be academically successful? And then at the end of the day, we would have one less closure, which addresses budget. So I just want to be really clear, there are lots of things we can explore, but because of the complexity and the interwovenness of all of these things, I have to also communicate that offset as well. But we're looking at everything.
Yes, and I just wanted to reiterate what our superintendent just said. We do have over 50 campuses now. When you look at the draft plan, you'll be able to see the list of projected dual language campuses for next year. So as Enroll Austin opens up, highly encourage our families to also take a look at that to see what fits best, right, for each family. Thank you.
Ignacio?
Yes, and after Ignacio, we'll have Dennis Fagan.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Yeah. So I'm Ignacio Cruz. I'm staff at International High School. And I just want to commend all of you for this work that you're putting on your shoulder. I know that you are working really hard. You're trying to make the right thing. This is a really tough decision that you are trying to make for the whole community. I'm here not because I'm upset that International High School is closing. I understand that times are changing and we have to be strategic. We have to change with the times. We have to accommodate ourselves. for survival. No, we have like to make decisions that are tough. I'm happy that you are showing signs of listening to the community. When you are like willing to slow down the timeline and getting more input from the community, that makes me really happy to hear that. Because like right now, the environment at my school, we are a little bit disappointed by the way how the process has come down with us. Like I feel that we have been a little bit left out. For example, in the street, when people ask me like, oh, I heard that International is moving to Navarro. Wow. And then I'm like, I'm surprised. It's like, are we moving to Navarro? Because that's not what we're hearing behind the doors, you know, like, and I just want, and again, I commend you because I really believe that you want to be transparent in this whole process. But in our case, I just want for clarification. What is really happening to International High School? Or what people see is like that one line that says that International is moving to Navarro, but what we're hearing is that we're not really moving to Navarro. International is closing, and Navarro is going to keep doing what they are doing. They're doing really great work, working with emerging bilinguals, okay, and they're going to keep doing that. So I just want the community to hear it from you, what is happening with International High School.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was like the most nice, like welcoming into the meeting. I walked up and he was like, Matthias, you're doing a great job. I was like, thank you so much. So International High School. So for those of you, because we have communities from all over the city, I think it's important. International High School, serves our students who are new to the country, and previously was housed and co-located with Eastside Early College High School. And in 2023, it was moved out in April. And it was kind of a shift relatively quickly. It's one of those things that happened, and there wasn't a lot of planning, a lot of kind of thoughtfulness around the move, and that put us in a difficult spot. I remember working on the project in the summer and desperately trying to get our students what they needed and our staff what they needed at Northeast Early College High School, where it's currently located. On any given year, the student population can fluctuate, several hundred students. And what we've seen this year and last year is a significant decrease in the immigrant families who are coming to Austin ISD. Right? We are seeing way, way, way fewer, to the tune of around 2,000 students. And when you see where it's occurring in Austin ISD, it's the Rumberg area, it's near Navarro, and the honest truth is the enrollment at International has gone way, way down. And we're at a point where I believe that needs to reconfigure into a program versus a traditional school with a high school, with a principal and with kind of the same kind of complement of administrative staff. And the idea was the majority of the students who access International actually live in the area around Navarro. And that was the idea around, let's kind of co-locate the program, not the high school at Navarro, but be very intentional about ensuring that those students still have access, still have the program, still have the support, still have the educators. This happens from time to time where it's just out of our control. And when you get to a student population that is in the tens, really, it's just not something we can do and have a high school kind of with that few students. That is the honest truth. So that's where we are. Yvette, I know you want to probably say something to it. Oh, sorry. Or Dr. Wilson, sorry.
Hi, Angel Wilson, Assistant Superintendent, Secondary School Leadership. Superintendent Segura pretty much explained it very elaborately and thoroughly. For those that are not familiar with the International High School program, it is composed of 9th and 10th grade students, and then the students after 10th grade, they move into the traditional comprehensive high school environment. Right now, they're located at Northeast High School, but they are traditionally, or a lot of students are geographically residing in the area of the Navarro Early College area. Looking at the numbers right now, currently for International High School, the 10th grade cohort
has around 90 students, and the 9th grade cohort has around 10 to 11 students. So when this 10th grade cohort leaves and when it goes to the comprehensive high school setting, we are looking at a cohort right now of 10 to 11 students. So we are going through different iterations, meeting with the multilingual department in collaboration with International High School and secondary school leadership on what this may look like when we think of school closure, when we think of program relocation, and the allocation of resources and the supports that are needed. These are iterations that we are working through currently and planning. I know that you've seen school leadership and multilingual at your campus the past couple of weeks. We are still committed to being in the work with you all. We'll be there again this week to have more conversations around that. And we want to make sure that we are doing this with you and not to you, to have the best supports provided, not only for students, but for the teachers and staff. We value you. You're an invaluable resource, and we don't want to see this community lose that niche.
That's probably good. All right. Next question.
Okay, thank you. So we'll have, I have Dennis, and then Janet P.
Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Dennis.
Hey. Salute to everybody. You know, we're all on our Saturday, in which maybe we were doing something else. Everybody at these red tables, thank you, sir. I don't know where to start out, but I think I represent Zavala today. I've been a volunteer at Zavala since 1991 through 9 principals. And I'm one of many volunteers who've been very involved with Zavala. And I think that you and the trustees should see Zavala as a unique school located on Robert Martinez Jr., but between federal housing projects. One of them started by Lyndon Johnson. You know, we go back to the 1930s. I think that my sons went to Highland Park and McCallum, and I'm familiar with AISD. I've also volunteered at Burnett and Briker Woods and McCallum, of course. But I would say, from what I've been able to figure out, that as of last Saturday, 5% of our families knew there was a chance that our school was going to be disbanded, that our students were going to be sent to other schools, and our teachers were going to be reassigned to make room for WIN, the Montessori school. My sons both went to Montessori with Gail Allen in the early years, and the Montessori community know who she is. And I absolutely love Montessori. It's not that. And I understand what you said earlier about you're still researching and learning about what it would become or how it would work. But the Zavala families, we feel like we're under the gun. That as we have understood it so far, on the 21st, the trustees are going to, and others are going to vote up or down on whether to leave this in the plan, that a Montessori is going to come in and take over. So I think we are the 11th school. It was 13 schools being closed. Maybe now it's 10. We're the 11th, and we're invisible, it seems like. And so I would say, I would ask that this process be slowed down. Maybe 80% of our families now know that we could possibly be asked to leave the school. That's crazy. And everybody and all their issues, I welcome them. I feel sorry for the Garza people, but it's not the right way to do it. It also may pose legal problems for the district. You don't want that, I know. So the first person who spoke about Zavala, her last question was, is that true that this is going to be voted on coming up? And I don't think you did say a lot and helpful information, but I don't think you answered that question. We want to know, are we under the gun?
So just to be, there is not a document out there that says that Zavala is the new location of WIN. Just to be clear, like October 31st had Go Valley, and then we heard from community the October 3rd plan had Go Valley. We went through work sessions. We had community voice. There was lots of conversations. And the concern was regarding displacement of students who have been historically underserved from their neighborhood school that was built for them by way of a 2017 modernization project, right? There are 2,000 seats, extra surplus seats between Sanchez, Zavala, Ortega, and Go Valley. That's just the honest truth. And so the origination of the idea months ago around placement of district-wide schools, non-zone schools, was that you could not have to close more schools because you would offset those seats with district-wide programs. That was the idea. So we were really leaning into this consideration of not waiting closures in East Austin. That is a value of ours. We talk about it all the time. And so that's how we started. In the conversations with the Go Valley community and with our board of trustees and others, it became clear that the Go Valley relocation may not be supported because of what I just described. So then the question becomes, well, if we're not going to provide a district-wide program that already exists, creating one is not something that we would be able to do, but one that already exists, then you're going to have surplus seats in that area. So I'm desperately trying to keep the schools open, right? On October 3rd, all we did was just list the other schools that have been discussed in a work session. So there isn't a recommendation, there isn't a plan, there's nothing that states that Wynn is going to Zavala, which is why, as we explore different changes, we haven't yet had the community meeting because, it's not, the board will vote on Wynn Montessori. Zavala is not currently in any document as a receiving school. So I understand why when an idea comes up, it creates a response, but that's part of our process. So I just want to be really, really clear. There's not a vote that has been shared with trustees that says that Wynn is moving to Zavala. There's not a document that even exists that says that. It's exploring these schools and others now that Wynn conversation we've had that conversation with the Wynn community.
May I have a follow-up?
Sure.
Thank you. But there will be a vote.
Yes, there will be a vote.
So if you haven't come to Zavala, and I'm sure Samantha Hill would join me on this, we would welcome you in our library for a community meeting. Why would there be a vote in such little time on something? Now, it's true, there hasn't been a document that said we were, but Highland Park's not worried about this. Cassis is not worried. There's only 2 schools, I think, that are worried about Montessori moving in.
There are others.
Okay.
Right. From the Wynn conversation, yes.
Okay. So are we under the gun? Are we about to be voted on?
I'm not, I mean.
I know, but you didn't answer my question.
Thank you so much.
Our process, as I've said before, is to go through and explore and analyze. And like I said, when it first came together, that we have not had a conversation at Zavala because I do not want to create this concern that Zavala, I know, but so every time there's an idea out from anywhere, then I've been really clear we're going to explore it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a community conversation because it may never become like part of the plan. He's asking me if it's yes or no, if it's on it.
And I'm sorry to interject. We have 40 people who have signed up for public comment, and I have been tasked with letting a lot of people are waiting to speak, and we have 40 people still waiting, and we have an hour left. So if you please can make sure that we can respect each other's time. Thank you so much, sir. Can we call the next name, please?
Yes.
Yes, we are under the gun.
You're using that term. I'm not. I don't use.
Okay. Can we please get Janet P. and then Cecile Fandos?
Janet P., you have the floor. Janet P., next name.
Okay. Cecile Fandos and then John Cervantes.
Thank you so much.
Hey, I'm Cecile. We need to talk about how what happened this week is going to impact the results that we wanted to achieve. I was the one person uploading earlier when you reminded us all about the reason for this plan. And I want to testify as a Northeast Austin mom that has her kids in a school with 94% low-income students and about 80% English language learners that got rated F. The reason this happened, the principal shared, is because of staffing. Schools with a bunch of English language learners, a bunch of low-income kids are struggling to find the teachers. They needed help years ago. We've been talking about this for months and months and months. We need to do this years ago. So we need to move forward with this, and if we're not moving forward the way it was planned, which looked to me, when you look at the demographics data on the website, I was looking at the 3 years ahead projections. I was looking at the numbers. I was like, ooh, are we really doing enough through this plan? Or are we going to be struggling with the same struggles a few years from now and failing the black and brown kids and the bilingual kids and the low-income kids? We cannot continue doing what we've been doing. And I drive my kids from out of district, actually. We transferred into Austin ISD for two-way dual language. I drive my kids to a regular neighborhood dual language school because bilingual teachers need to be where the bilingual kids are. And it's like 4 apartment complexes that fit into that school. And my white privileged daughter who lives in a big house wants to live in an apartment to be by her friends. And yeah, you got my message. I think it's great. And just go for it. You'll love it. And just those teachers used to get those schools rated A and B just a few years ago. And then the pandemic happened, so many struggles happened, but they are the best educators in town, in my opinion.
Thank you so much. Can I remind everyone, we have this timer, well, it's blacked out now, but we have a timer to try to keep the question or the comment to 1 minute so that we can make room for others. We want to hear as many voices as possible. Quiero recordarle a los que hablan español, sí, nos encantaría que participaran, puede hacer su pregunta en español. Tenemos la oportunidad. Sí, necesitamos todas las voces. We need all the voices. Thank you so much for participating. Who's our next?
Okay, so we have John Cervantes and then Nadia Khan.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hey, how's it going, folks? My general concern, I'm not a parent, went to AISD schools growing up, went to Galindo, in fact. My concern at this point is just... Oh, that's a good point.
So, the question, I think, originally was around the plan and the breakup in the milestones. So I want to be really clear, as I said when we first got everybody together, like, the board has tasked me, and I genuinely believe that a change that includes boundary changes, consolidations, programmatic moves, feeder pattern alignment, and transfer policies has to occur. And as I said when I first started, I'm extremely frustrated that we're at this point where the timeline has been adjusted. That was not my intention. I was prepared. But again, I am a process person. I need to make sure that all the ideas, everything that's even coming to us today, gets analyzed and evaluated. And when we think about the elements on the boundary side as well as the consolidations tied to balanced enrollment, I couldn't say that we had diligently addressed all the refinements. Like, there's a refinement that was just described around Dawson. Like, we're doing that this weekend and continuing to refine. I'm committed to bringing that forward. Our trustees, I would say, are committed to bringing that forward. It has to change. I would say that when you look back in 20 years, one of the things that you're going to, I think we as a district and as a city are going to benefit from is all the feeder pattern alignments that have improved and the reduction in our overall costs as an organization, because I'm committed to do it. I'm bringing it back. I mean, we're going to move forward. On the timeline, I'm working with the trustees to establish it. I understand that many of them want to move quickly. I do as well.
Cool. Right on. Thank you for no, thank you. That's very important to have your questions and points addressed. Okay, yeah. Thank you again. Yeah, I was just expressing I'm native Austinite. I was born here, Breckenridge. You know, my great-grandparents were advocates for the city. Have seen the closure of Palm Elementary on East First Street, now known as Cesar Chavez Street. We saw the closure of Juarez Lincoln Institute, which was also on Cesar Chavez, you know, which is now an IHOP, you know. So that's just unfortunate, and it just happens to keep happening in East Austin to black and brown communities, which again, my great-grandparents advocated for those communities as black and brown people. With that being said, and the city consistently growing and changing and things getting rezoned, I also specialize in tenant rights, and I know a fair share of rezoning. With these closures happening and histories of our schools and institutes for learning getting turned into IHOPs, I just am concerned with the double-digit number of schools that are being closed throughout Austin being changed or rezoned into luxury apartments or DB90 apartments where they get subsidized housing and all these things because they built high and put in some affordable housing into it, which in that case kind of contradicts itself, because if you're bringing families in but not where a school used to be, it almost contradicts itself. And it's just really concerning because I know that the money thing is real, not so much in the school board, I like to assume, but in the city itself. So my just concern is what happens. Yeah. So what's to happen to the land that the schools sit on?
It's a great question. So in the last two and a half years, 3 years, I would say the board and this administration has really been proactive in ensuring that every resource that we have as a school district is leveraged to support our overall mission. And so I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and I'm going to talk to you about a process. Well, let me do the reverse. Let me talk about process, and let me give you a couple of examples. So process-wise, we do not repurpose property without going through a comprehensive community engagement effort. We've demonstrated that over and over again. Our trustees expect it. I expect it out of my staff. So what it looks like is, first, the property is deemed not needed for educational use for us. Doesn't mean it doesn't need to be educational use. Just mean as a school it doesn't need to operate as a school. Then the board or the Public Facilities Corporation, but in most cases the board until it transitions over, has the administration do an analysis based on what the community has said they would like to see on the property, and then what we can do. Right? There are sometimes things that we're limited to do because of easements or setbacks, and there's also an overall philosophy that I have, which is we do not want to fee simple sale property. Right? In Austin ISD, we're one of the largest landowners. If we can leverage our properties to move our mission, it needs to be done. And so so that's process. The question or the examples that I will give you is, right now in 2019, we went through a process of closing Pease Elementary School. There was a strong desire from the community to have that be activated as a facility that had students in it. So we worked with the community, we worked with our board, and then we actually executed an agreement with United Way, and now it's an early childhood center. So we can do those things. On the flip side, Anita Coy, a different site, our board and I kind of explore different ways to actually support teacher housing, workforce housing. And we did it in a way that maintained ownership. Because if I have ownership and we're doing a long-term lease, I have kind of teeth into what can and can't be done on that site. And so our Public Facilities Corporation that has 3 trustees on it, as well as 2 community members, recently approved a project, 600 units. But when you look at the mix of the units, you'll see 3-bedroom units, which are super rare, 2-bedroom units, and lots of 1-bedroom units. But you will not see studios. And you will not see those that are 60% median family income here, and then a different building for 80% MFI. What you're going to see is a blend. There's no difference. So in that way, we can attract families back to Austin, right? Regarding affordability, we have the ability to ensure the types of units we want are in that building, and we would go through a process for each of these, properties, as we move forward. That's how we would do it. And I understand that there's different, entitlements tied to properties. Almost every property in Austin ISD was given or donated at some point in 144 years. And we understand that. We work with our community, and we define what can be done, and that's what we do. And so you'll never see AISD just go to highest and best use. Now, I will say that there are opportunities to generate revenue, but I would prefer to do it in capitalized ground leases, where you get revenue over time, and then in 50 years or 100 years, it reverts back to Austin ISD full ownership without the lease in place. But there are instances where if we need to do a fee simple transaction, we will do it, but they're few and far between. And every time we do it, we're very open about why we're doing it and how it's going to be used. So.
I just want to, like I said, I appreciate you for running us through it. I have a general understanding of these things, but I think it's just great for the masses to know. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll go with Nadia Khan next, and then Paloma Michael.
Hi. So I have several things I wanted to bring up, and this is just, we're in such chaos now that I'm sorry for how many different points are probably here, but you can respond to whichever parts you want to. So first question was just when will we, and don't answer my questions while I'm talking. When I get to the end, then you can come back to them because I have several. When we see a map, before it, then it was changed. Now you put out it's kind of a general statement that I thought was going to have a map accompanying it, but it didn't. So there's still a lot of questions about just generally what's in and what isn't. So one question is just like, when are we going to see the thing that is going to be voted on as the final map that has changes? The unzoning of so many elementary schools is a huge consequence that, again, is just being endured here on the east side. And I just want to make sure that there's an ongoing, I understand it in some cases why we have to do it right now, but just that there's an ongoing effort to understand the consequences of that and to ensure that that's something we want to carry forward beyond the 1 or 2 years in which we're required to be doing it, because we're also dealing with accountability and other issues. Can the district commit to any new unzoned schools and all existing unzoned specialty programs and schools to have 65% economically disadvantaged enrollment now, and to enact real policies now, such as the WIN enrollment policy and transportation for all economically disadvantaged students, to ensure that this happens now as opposed to in years from now? And that if these unzoned schools don't reach the families they're intended to, that the district reevaluate programming to ensure we don't have under-enrolled, under-resourced schools due to the district's programming decisions. And the other concerns I will just list since we don't have time for them are, I don't see the funding committed to the enrollment plan for these for these unzoned schools. There's an enormous amount of marketing, door-to-door, transportation that will be needed to get students there. I don't feel that Jocelyn being unzoned or that this program has really been vetted, and I don't understand how it fits into the district's goals in terms of having another specialty program within the district. So I think we need to look at a broader conversation coming up that is about Montessori, IB, academies, magnets, special language programs everywhere. What are they, and how are we making sure that they're serving 65% economically disadvantaged or some equitable portion of the population? We are surrounded by many schools that don't have enough kids, and so we here in the Northeast are surrounded by many schools who don't have enough kids because of the enrollment policies, and therefore we don't have enough resources or enough teachers. So given the pause that's happening, what is the plan now to provide all things to all schools for next year? Okay, general questions about Marshall. What is happening in the plan there? That is also unclear in the current plan that's been put forward. And general statement that I think that this process has siloed our communities. I have a student at Wynn Montessori, and I'm happy to talk to the people who are at Zavala afterwards to explain to them what's going on right now. It doesn't sound like anybody knows, and so many of these changes are regional, and it would have been really helpful if we had just had regional meetings at the beginning that said, hey, this area has too many seats. We need 2 schools to close among these 6. We have 1 special program. Here's our constraints. Can you guys talk about it and come back to us with 3 ideas, and then we'll go vet them. That didn't happen, and it's still not happening, and it's making it really hard for everybody to work together as a district, even though I think people want to.
Yeah. So there was a lot there. I would say the regional planning, I think that's something we want to lean into. I think we need to think about what the configurations of those regions are, who in the region truly needs to be at the table to ensure that we are moving the process forward. I've been parts of lots of meetings, and I know it's very difficult to close schools. That's just the honest truth. I've been in lots of conversations, and ultimately it's, Matthias, can you just save more money somewhere else? And so that is what happens in lots of, and so we are committed to doing that and looking at regions, but before we do that, define which region and recognize that there are geographic boundaries in our city that kind of bound those areas. As far as the maps, right? So I want to be really clear timeline-wise. When we made the announcement on Tuesday, myself and the board officers were working kind of through the weekend and into Monday to make sure that we were doing it in a way that was thoughtful of our overall process, who we are, integrity of the process. And we didn't release maps immediately because, as you know, given your background, the maps that were previously developed included a tremendous amount of feathering, which is one school changes, it impacts the next school and impacts the next school. And so if you're going to pull out and focus on the 10 closures that are tied to TAPS and program alignment, the maps are going to look slightly different because I do not want a cascading impact to occur that doesn't have to happen until we actually revisit the full process, right? Because there are some instances where there was like a 2% change here and a 4% change here. We don't necessarily need to do that with this iteration, and so I had to go back and clear that up. So that's one big part of it. The other thing is that our trustees have shared with me via work session and on the dais that they want to see fewer splits in our TAPs. Well, if you see fewer splits in your TAPs, that means they have fewer boundaries, which means you're doing larger consolidations, which requires map changes as well. So that work has been occurring. I reviewed much of that work with the team, Christine and others, on Friday. The team is working through the weekend. So I am wanting to push these out. I can't give you an exact date. It'll be obviously Friday the 14th will be when it goes live. We want to do something earlier, but I want to be really clear. That's why I couldn't release maps the moment that we decided to change the timeline. It is truly wanting to make sure that when it comes out, it is a high quality deliverable that is understood and easily able to be communicated. So that's what's happening right now. So I am pushing. You have lots of other questions. I've seen them. General Marshall, as part of this plan, originally we cut in General Marshall's attendance boundary. We looked to align the feeder patterns. That is not continuing in these 10 votes because it's not required as part of the TAPS or the program moves, but it is part of the boundary changes. And again, I'm going to bring those back. I want to be clear. That is going to happen. I am looking with our trustees and officers to figure out when the appropriate time to bring it back is. I want to go quickly, but to your point, in order to ensure that we don't miss anything, should an adjustment on the process regionally occur? And if so, what time? But I do not want this to drag on and on and on. This is very hard as a community, as a city to take on, and it has to get done. The longer it goes, the less amount of time we have to plan. So you can shoot me your text and I'll respond to all the others.
Okay. I do want to remind everyone that we do have a comment card available. If you have multiple questions, I get it. A 1 minute is nothing. I argue with my kid over her shoes or whatever for more than a minute. So I get it. The time is short. Please give us your feedback on the comment card. Those are all looked at. Those are all considered in the formation of all the plans that are being put out. Do we have another person?
Yes. Okay. We'll come for Paloma Michael and then Para
Agbog.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, so I have two questions, one community announcement and one ask. With the utmost respect, I request to receive a clear and concise answer. Same way community members are being constantly reminded of time, I would like for the same to be reflected. So my question would be, what is the planification or what protection plans are being taken for the relocation, severance, and retirement for educators, school admins, elders, kitchen and cleaning staff that are going to be affected? That is my first question. My second question would be, I heard you mention a couple of times in responses to community questions that things were out of the district's control. So I would like to ask, what is in the district's control? And lastly, for a community announcement for everyone involved, at the front of where people were signing up, at the back of the stairs, there are collard greens, arugula, and bok choy available for people to grab. There's also bags available, so please help yourself to vegetables. Just want to remind each other that we keep each other safe. So yeah.
Thank you for doing that. All right, I'll keep my response to a minute. So in the October 31st submission, October 3rd, we were very clear about how we're going to support our staff. We identified different types of staffing plans based on each transition. If it was a turnaround plan, there were going to be certain requirements. If it was a program move, it would have certain requirements. And ultimately, if it was just a consolidation or boundary change, it would have other requirements. I've said from the beginning, every single person impacted by this plan that's an Austin ISD employee will have a home in Austin ISD if they choose to stay with us. I've been very clear. There's been comments posted somewhere weeks ago about us firing. That's not the case at all. That is untrue. And if anybody says it, just please tell them that that is not accurate. And it's for all staff, classified, which includes custodial staff, food service workers, teacher assistants. Everybody in our school system has a home. We hire between 600 and 700 educators every single year. We are collecting surveys from our staff to understand what opportunities they would like to explore. But our preference is always going to be to have them go where the students go, right? We want familiar faces. We want to make sure that we have a community intact where we can. So that's how we're going to approach it. That's been our commitment the entire time. Oh, yeah, no, I've been quoted on that. So, and then the second question, which was the district's control. So our budget is under control. I would say our commitment to how we educate is in our control. Those are the two biggest ones right now. What's not in our control, and you said, what's all the things that aren't. The one thing that we want to make sure remains in our control is our board's ability to lead this school district. So our budget reflects our values, right? We spend resources on our values. The last 3 years, we made compensation increases for our educators. In 23, we did it. In 24 and 25. We also did that with classified staff in 23. So that's a document that reflects our values. It just is. Our curriculum, right? That is our decision. There are school districts who have different options that they want to explore, and they do so. We have been very clear that these curriculum are the ones that we support. They're in alignment with our values, and they cost money. There are school districts around the state of Texas who've chosen different curriculum that have different passages and different things in it. We're not going to go down that path, but I have to be clear that if I'm going to stay over here and procure things that align with our values, those are millions and millions of dollars that we're choosing to spend. We also, and I'll end with this, we are choosing to protect planning time for educators. In the spring, we made a commitment to do that, and there was a cost associated with it. We choose to employ librarians. We believe in the love of reading. We choose to employ nurses. These are all things that are in our control, but we could also choose not to do that. But we've chosen to do it.
Thank you, Paloma.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to Para Agbaga. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm sorry. And then Lisa Flores.
Thank you. It's Para Agboga.
That's okay. I got it. It's all right, baby. It's all right. Good morning. Thank you all for doing this. I think community engagement is the first part to be successful, so thank you for that. I'm a graduate parent, thank God. All of my children graduated from LBJ, and they're all all successfully in college right now. So I have a donation box at the door. My question relates to the consolidation of LBJ and Northeast High School. You shook your head.
That's not something we're doing.
Good. But my question still relates to the plan for LBJ. And as you said it earlier, there's a feathering. If you do one thing, it cascades into it impacts other things down the road. So we've always been concerned with feeder schools for LBJ. That's been a concern for many years. And certainly once the split happened between LBJ and LASA, that became even more prevalent. So as you're looking at closing, consolidating, merging, however you want to call it, all these elementary and middle school students, how does that look for our high schools that will remain in play?
Yeah. No, so what you're describing is that precisely what I want. I believe it's what our trustees want. We want aligned feeder patterns, right? There are schools that split into LBJ that also go to 2 other high schools, right? And that is not what you want in a thriving school system, right? You break up community. You don't have alignment in programming. It impacts athletics. It impacts fine arts. All the things are impacted. And so this plan actually aligns the feeder patterns. The trustee Foster challenged the school district 4 months ago and said, I don't want to see more than 2 splits, or 1 split meaning 2 schools, which is, actually a really healthy place to be, where you have 1 elementary school that goes to no more than 2 middle schools, 1 middle school go to no more than 2 high schools. We got very, very close in the first iteration of the plan. We still had 2 splits that went to 3, but it's way better than what we have now. So we are very thoughtful. LBJ's boundary in the plan actually expands, right, to increase the attendance boundary to ensure that we have a healthy students reside number, right? The number of students that live in the attendance boundary actually can fill up LBJ to a reasonable percentage. So what you want is what we want. And as part of all of this, that's what we're striving for. Fewer splits, aligned feeder patterns. There are parts of Austin that have had it for decades. We need to make sure we have it everywhere in Austin, and specifically East Austin.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I just want to say that I hope that in the midst of all of this chaos of dealing with, and I do serve on the ad hoc budget committee as well, so there's a lot of questions going on. But I hope in the midst of all this, we're not forgetting to ensure that we have the best. And I don't think you're doing this. I'm just saying it to be saying it. But I think it's important that we remember that our students have to have the best in order for them to be the best. And so these high schools that we have around, they have to offer something. They have to offer something substantive for our families and our kids in all of them, so that those high schools don't lag over, lump over, fall over, and then we're back at this again trying to think of how we're going to realign these schools.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
thank you.
Okay, can we get Lisa Flores and then Jay Welk?
Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you. Welcome. Hi, Superintendent. So I know there's been a question about special education today. Mine is a more specific question than what has been explained, and it is not to Dr. Lee, it is to you. So I've heard the district say that all services will be available at all schools, but programs are people, and without the actual staff, services can't exist. Inclusion is about people, not processes. When teachers, specialists, and support staff are not available, neither are the programs or services that students depend on. Inclusion starts at the top. And leadership sets the tone on whether district's approach will be driven by people or by paperwork. Austin ISD continues to rely on a model that pairs a general education teacher with a teaching assistant and calls that inclusion. The model is not aligned with TEA expectations or national best practices. True inclusion requires co-taught classes, collaboration, and access to specialists. So the district points to a 74% inclusion rate, but that number does not measure quality or academic success. Campuses still lack guaranteed planning time and consistent PLC time to support true collaboration. If the foundation is weak, outcomes will remain weak, especially for secondary students who have already been underserved for years. Will the district create a disability-specific transfer process for students whose schools cannot provide the required supports? Will there be a district-wide study to identify where co-taught classes are needed. I think that these actions are needed. I also believe, as a suggestion, AISD could strengthen academic performance and enrollment by offering truly inclusive pre-K and kindergarten programs where kids learn together instead of siloing it. As I mentioned, Dr. Lee's graciously and been amazing with her time and answered a lot of my questions, but my question is to you. How will you, as the superintendent, ensure that inclusion is not an empty promise, but a person-centered framework that leads to equitable, measurable learning outcomes for every student?
Yeah. So, thank you, Lisa, for the question. We've had conversations around, who we want to be as a school district, and I can tell you with, 100% certainty that I believe in an inclusive school system, right, where, our students, no matter who they are or what supports they need or what services we're providing them, are part of, the educational process, but in a meaningful way. And in no point in their educational journey are they separated, are they not included, and this includes everything, whether it's fine arts, athletics, everything. And I do believe that there's a real opportunity to identify kind of specific changes in our school district that need to resonate throughout. And it's not happening in the way that I want it to at this point. I know it's not meeting your expectations. It's not my I know, but it's not, we're not doing it in the way that we should. I mean, we're not thinking about it at every moment, as we plan, which is what you need to be doing, right? We need to be thinking about, if we have an experience in our school, whatever it may be, how are we thinking about embracing inclusivity? What does that look like for all of our students? I can't tell you right now that occurs throughout the entire system. In fact, I can tell you that it doesn't. So it starts with me, right? It starts with our team. It starts with our planning, our professional development, setting expectations in every meeting, being really clear about, when we do it, this is what it looks like, and this is what I expect. And when you don't, this is what's going to be, this is what's going to happen. I think that the district for years has really struggled with maintaining high expectations for all staff. That's just the honest truth. I think that there have been instances where we have maybe not been firm about what we're willing to do when those expectations are not met, whether it's having rigor for students or ensuring that we do have an inclusive environment. So what I'm doing, is continuing to work with community and working with our team. I think I need to improve in how I kind of incorporate that into our overall mission. And I think that the work that we're going to be doing as we move into the spring semester around the academic planning, academic framework, will ensure that we do it. I mean, that to me is like you got to talk about it. You got to be honest about it, and you got to drill it down into the system.
You got to create a process for it. If you're a process guy, create that.
I am a process guy. Yeah, and that's
I'm
the thing
happy
is,
to
and
give
then we
you
have to
resources for processes.
Well, and then you have to figure out.
Talking about it is not a process. That's hope.
I understand that. I agree, and that's the. I would say that as we evolve as a school system, like where you want to be is where I want to be, but it is a process, and I need to figure out, okay, as we built it up, who's going to be at the table? How do I measure progress? How do I ensure that whether it's through observation or through data reports that I pull, that the system's actually responding and moving forward? I think that's all work that needs to be done, and as you know, I am a process person. If we have a plan and there's a process and I can measure progress, it's going to happen. It just hasn't been built out that way yet, but it is an expectation that I have. And I would say one of the things that's been hard is there are lots of things that we want to progress that haven't because of the immense pressures that we have. And that's just the honest truth.
I'd just like to highlight that inclusion helps all kids, not just disabled kids. So all your outcomes would improve if this was at the forefront of your processes instead of an afterthought. I just want to reiterate that. I've reiterated that many times. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have Jay Wilk and then Maria M.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. I am Jay Wilk. I'm a community member and former student teacher at Metz Elementary, and someone who's really passionate about how young people are treated. My question is focused on future-focused transitions. As others have said, moving students to different schools impacts their sense of community, their rituals, their habits. It often sends the message that their schools and communities are never permanent at a time when losing their school isn't the only thing that they may be losing. Moving students also interrupts their supports and services and puts strain on teachers who already do so much with very little funding and long hours. I'm especially concerned about youth and families with working class, low-income financial status, and the fact that we already know youth and their families at risk are already experiencing homelessness, are undercounted, and often fly under the radar for services. We also know that homeless liaisons, which are crucial in schools for identifying young people who are at risk of homelessness or already experience that, are already reporting huge caseloads, which means when students are shuffled around, they're much more likely to have their needs fall through the cracks, whether they're homeless, at risk, or not. If these schools were to close, what will the district and city do to support mental health and preserve educational supports for youth and their families? What kind of specific supports will be added for those that have to transition schools?
Yeah. So, thank you for the question. No, thank you. So I'm going to try to, I know it's getting late in the morning, so I'm going to talk real briefly and then hand over to Stacia. So it's all about, I want to make sure it's all about process and planning. So first off, we need to make sure that we're setting our students, and Stacia and her team are the ones that are building the frameworks. It really comes down to making sure that we execute the framework, but make sure that we have community voice and teacher voice and family voice into it before we actually execute, which is why you always hear me say, if we're going to make a decision, it needs to occur in the fall semester so that we can plan, and be really prepared when our students are welcomed at the start of the following school year. So I'm going to have Stacia Pascal, who's leading this work through Bridge Teams, share a little more about kind of the specific supports we're providing for students. Oh, you got a mic.
I do, and thank you. And I'm standing here in solidarity with my partner, Dr. Lewis, because as you mentioned, the wraparound piece is extremely important. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what it would look like for students and pass it over to Dr. Lewis to talk about some of those wraparound pieces when it comes to our licensed mental health professionals, as well as the additional wraparound services that are presented. So right now, we are working together to create a toolkit for campuses. So as we think about transitioning currently and moving forward, how are we preparing campuses with morning meetings? How are we preparing them with transitional activities and merging staff together? And so all of those things are part of the process that the Bridge team is currently working on. The Bridge team is also working with campuses that are proposed for closing as they are dealing with unpacking the feeling of the heaviness of the proposal for the campus to close. So that is something that's taking place. We also have where we are thinking through different ways in which to partner with community as communities form combined groups to talk about transition and learning what's important and what is something that really needs to move forward with your community as they go from one location to the next.
Thank you so much, Stacia. So my name is LaShonda Lewis. I am the Executive Director of Student Support Services, and what that really means is I get to work with a lot of different departments within our district, our school counselors, as well as our licensed mental health professionals, but I also get to oversee our department that oversees restorative practices, but also works with a lot of our community partners. And so, as Stacia mentioned, our Bridge team is a team that's consistent of individuals from all of our different departments. So our counseling department, our licensed mental health department, our partners, our individuals that are working with our kids directly on campuses through restorative practices. And so we're really working to ensure that we have supports in place for our students as they transition from one campus to another, whether that is through a campus that happens to close, or maybe it's because a campus that is their program is moving or their boundaries are changing. But what we're also doing is making sure that we're talking to our partners that are already in our schools. We have some amazing partners in our schools. We have communities in schools. We have multiple other agencies that come in and work with our students every day. We know that those programs are going to be important for our students as they continue on to whatever the next phase may look like. And so we are committed to ensuring that those supports continue for all of our students. I also get to oversee our after-school programs. We know that that is not something that we have necessarily talked a lot about through this process, but we want to make sure that for our families that need that support after school, that that support is still available to you as we move forward in this next phase.
Thank you. We'll have three last speakers, Maria M., Vicki Baldwin, and then last, Anita Sigler.
Hi, thank you. Before my time starts, I want to say apologies for getting a little bit loud earlier. I think I would like you to understand it's frustrating for us because 7,000 comment cards were entered, and I know that I made at least 25 questions or points that have not been responded to in writing in any sort of way anywhere. So it gets frustrating to ask the same questions repeatedly and never have them answered. So that's why I was just trying to drill down earlier. That is not my question, okay?
Time has not started.
Yeah.
But I do want to, at the end of my question.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, I have referenced the form that was the Google thing that was out, so none of them are in there. This is about the Zilker and Becker consolidation. And the new transfer policies. So I have some questions about how the district will actually guarantee that all current Zilker families and transfers and all 500 Becker students are guaranteed to attend the school as a continuing transfer. We have heard that portables can be utilized. How many will need to be added to the Zilker campus to accommodate a 1,000 plus student campus, and how much will that cost? Will transportation be provided for Becker Zone families? 170 of them, since it is dangerous to cross a railroad and Lamar, a major road. How much will that cost? The board needs to know how much this plan actually costs to make an informed vote on what you are proposing. It is not in the financial addendum. It says TBD on transportation, TBD on infrastructure to be added. So, I mean, really, how many portables is that? And then lastly, how will Becker's culture of bilingual, bicultural community be incorporated at Zilker, right? So that is our consolidating campus. It is Zilker Elementary. Right now, there is no Spanish plan to be offered there. It is in direct conflict of the plan and communications that we have received that communities who are being forced to consolidate will have both of their cultures continue on. There's no plan for Becker's culture at Zilker.
So the Becker attendance boundary, right? This is one that has gone through. There are lots of comments around this one, right? And the iterations have shown Galindo as part of the schools that are receiving students from Becker assigned, to be clear, and then Zilker. What we know is that the full attendance boundary of Becker doesn't fit into Zilker alone, right? It doesn't. And there needs to be, you have Travis Heights to the east, you have Galindo to the south, and you have Zilker to the west. And between them, you can absorb all the students, but we do not want to make more disruptions than we need to. So just to be clear, we look at Reside, and we use portables for temporary solutions, but we are not moving portables in, just to be clear. We have walked the campuses. We've had conversations with those principals together to figure out what's the best kind of transition plan. We are revisiting it based on feedback that we've gotten just in the last week to see if we can make an improvement on it. But portables that exist are what we are relying on, not new portables. A portable coming in is $150,000, and you wouldn't be able to add one in there anyway because it's part of the Barton Creek watershed. So I know you're about to say something, but so regarding the bringing of cultures together, right? So that's where the planning comes in, and the bridge work that Stacia was referring to, getting the principals in the communities between Becker, who are going to Zilker, and Zilker to come together and plan and support our students so that when we start in 26, it is a combined community. That is how it has to happen. I understand, because so the number of emergent bilingual students. So our dual language staffing needs to follow our emergent bilingual students. Right, so I know, but we have to look at the number of emergent bilingual students that are going to be at the new campus. And given the programmatic move of Becker to Sanchez, and right now I think Becker is 21% emergent bilingual students, including transfer ins. I think 21 or 24%. The number is pretty low, and Zilker is pretty low as well. So I just want to be really clear about the emergent bilingual kind of student population that will be in the new assigned school zone and what that number is, and then what the opportunity is for dual language. Because Zilker had a program, but it was more of an enrichment program. And again, we have to, by policy and by law, staff to where our emerging bilingual students are. So that's where the planning comes in, getting the principals, getting community, people like you together to figure out what is going to be best for the new student population in the new community. You sure can.
It's two. I'm always having one extra. It's in the current plan. It said that current transfers on a campus would be allowed to continue to transfer to the zoned school of that campus.
Yeah.
So are you saying that our students cannot go to Zilker for transfers?
If you're transferring in, so
if you're currently transferred in,
if you're currently transferred in,
yes,
then you can transfer on
to Zilker. So 1,000 students can be accommodated at Zilker.
That is not how transfers work in our system.
It says guaranteed.
Well, so this is where it comes down to planning, because I get the same question the other way. Well, Matthias, how many students do you assume are going to go to the new wall-to-wall language program? How many may go to Odom? How many are going to transfer to these schools? It is never 100%. It never comes close. We take information from our community, our principals' understanding of their students and their families, and we use that to plan. Based on all that information, we feel confident that we can support the new student population at Zilker. It is not going to 100%. I promise you, 100% of students are not going to go to Zilker, because we've never seen that. Like, it's not.
It's because you're not offering our school community any voice in that community, because we're a dual language school community, and that's why that our community isn't going to go there, because we care about dual language. And our community has told you that only 20% of us can go to Sanchez because it is unfeasible to get there. So I just want that to be known. Our community has said that. We haven't gotten any response to the fact that we've said 20% of us can go to Sanchez. We've been given no options. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll bring it to you.
We'll go to Vicki Baldwin, Anita Sigler, and then Tamara Easley.
You can stay here.
I'm Vicki Baldwin, and the Garza mother. I want to let you know, and I know about time, I'm speaking for Garza because I knew it, I planned it, I was there 10 years before I retired. I retired after 42 years. Of those, 39 are with Austin ISD. I opened Martin. I was on the first faculty to open it. And so I know the configuration of Martin. I know the configuration of Garza. Moving to Martin would kill Garza. And I say it will kill it because I'm old and I have a lot of experience. There's at Martin, and I loved Martin, but it doesn't have the convenience needed for students. We're an all-district school. I mean, kids come from all over. They don't necessarily transfer, or maybe make them now. I don't know. Anyway, we just, take kids that want to get a high school diploma. There are all kinds of kids that come there. Black, white, brown, and everything else. The bus comes to Garza, a metro, right in front of the school. So those individuals who are taking advantage of our child care, I guess you still have child care. I hope you do, because I worked hard to get that. It wasn't easy. So you have that kind of situation. You have kids that have cars. You have whatever. The intimacy, though, the personalization, the individualization, the academic excellence. And I feel sorry because the principal is not here, because he and his counselor and the distinguished professor, Dr. Cynthia Franklin of UT School of Social Work, are in Toronto, Canada right now, because they're internationally known. They're known nationally, state. I can tell you, even when I was there, and I was there 10 years, I made presentations in Poland and Ireland. And when Dr. Webb came, I don't know if she was ever there, because she was in China, and she was in Japan, and she went to Italy. Don't kill something that's working. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Now, the good news is your superintendent's a good guy. He didn't ask for this to happen. I have a lot of history, obviously, because I'm old. I am going to represent Garza, and I'm sorry, you'll just need to tell your principal that, but the superintendent and I are going to meet and have coffee so I can educate him, which I do very well, about the history, about the culture, about why it works. Because I will tell you, I had 6 months to create Garza. And I thought, well, you know, let's see. Yeah. And I told him I said, let me tell you, usually schools that don't look like others are always put on the east side of town in a dilapidated building. I won't go there, and those kids won't go there. You either go whole hog or no hog at all. And that's exactly what happened. The other high school principals told me, well, my kids won't go there. And I said, well, you know, life is full of choices. I was also told the high school principals toured Garza, and they said, oh, this looks like an elementary school. And I said, thank you. Because who didn't love their elementary school? So what I'm saying is, I know the layout of Martin. Martin would not provide the closeness, the personalization, because of the way it was built. But I will talk with superintendent. He's paying my coffee, I think. And I will give you, and I will speak for you. I will come and meet with you if you want to. But you talk about passionate. Don't mess with me.
We have one more. One more? Two more, sorry.
Okay. I'm sure the superintendent's ready for some coffee after that. Okay, we'll have two final ones, Anita Sigler and then Tamara Easley.
Hi, I'm Anita Sigler. I'm the librarian at Pickle Elementary. I did like the idea of the region meetings before the vote. Pickle also has a very rich history with their community. We were the first city-side building built with the school and city-side together. So we have a lot of great relationships with the city and their rec center and their other library. Let me get to my other stuff first. Pickle is going to welcome everybody who wants to come. We want everybody to come. We do not want our ESL guys to be kicked out. That is our issue with the new plan, is that our ESL people will have to move. And our community is already marginalized. And when you marginalize, when you move a marginalized community, we're going to slide. And our kids are not sliding now, and you're going to create more trouble. So my question kind of comes in with, what is the advantage of wall-to-wall? dual language is going to accept everybody. We are also, I see you're getting ready. But when you're dual language, you're going to have both communities getting in normal circumstances and being able to have relationships that are normal, not just rote learning. So they really need that interaction on the playground and the interaction in the music and the art classes. And we're going to lose it if you just go wall to wall. Plus, we're losing our ESL, and that's really my biggie. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for your question, and I agree that the pickle community is amazing and the teachers are amazing. So one of the benefits of a school-wide program, right, is when we look at research, we know that when we can get students together that both encompass our predominantly English speakers with our predominantly Spanish speakers, students are just going to like outperform everybody else, right? Like it is a great model to have where students are learning from each other. So there are benefits to having that type of program model and then to have it school-wide to build the culture and all of the pieces that come together with that. It's also centering, right, the purpose, the intent of our bilingual education model, right, which is dual language. And again, the intent to serve emergent bilingual students, which Pickle has a large number of emergent bilingual students there, right, in that area. And so that is the rationale behind having this model, right, of a school-wide program. As far as our students that are participating in English and ESL, Pickle also has a very small number of participants. Sometimes the classrooms are multi-age, right? It depends on the families that live there and that are attending in that zone. We very much want to, and we heard exactly what the community was asking for. So in the plan, we are looking to have our current 3rd and 4th grade students be able to move up into 4th and 5th grade to be able to kind of graduate out, right, of that community, of their, to continue attending.
Thank you.
That's because they're already English speaking. It is more difficult to come in with the second language and test in the second language. So better testing, they already have an advantage because they've got the English. So I really think let's test them in Spanish and see if they're doing as well. I mean,
so it's not.
I'm not real confident on that part.
And it's not, and I appreciate that. It's not just about
We don't need that many wall-to-wall.
Yeah.
Do we really? 'Cause
Can we wrap
Yeah.
up this
So,
one? I have
so
another person waiting.
well, one of the things that you brought up, which is I think important, we are a huge system, right? And you have 116 schools currently, 70,000 students, 10,000 employees, and to make moves, they have to be thoughtful. And I think the question that you're asking is, do wall-to-wall programs have to be structured or in our system the way that they currently are configured? Our trustees and I are wanting to have that conversation. That conversation can't be rushed. Like that is part of an academic vision, academic plan. That is like it's going to require time. We are committed to doing it. It's the same question around single gender schools. Same question, like what's our philosophy around magnets? Like there's a lot that we actually have to discuss. And what I've been telling people is for the last 3 years, it's been urgent, urgent, urgent. Every single year it has been addressing the urgent. We need to focus on the important. And I would say that conversation is one that we are wanting to have as we move forward. Our trustees have asked us to have it. We're going to consider it and figure out what's our philosophy around dual language. And so I just want you to know it's not going away. These changes are not agnostic of a future change, right? Because we are moving the wall-to-wall programs where there are higher numbers of emergent bilingual students. When we started this process, there was a clear understanding that these programs have been in our school system for a very long time. There was an original intention and a focused student population. It's moved away. And at the time we started the process, there was not a single conversation around whether we should have them or not. This work has asked us and created the opportunity to say, what is our, who do we want to be as a school system? So I want you to know, that is not off the table because we are making these adjustments because we're talking about 50-year decisions here. So I just want you to know that is part of the work that will come in the spring. Oh, well, maybe I'll be retired too. I mean, All right.
Okay, final question from Tamara Easley.
My name is Tamara Easley. I have two kids that currently go to Pickle Elementary. My husband's grandmother sold her house for that community to build that school. It was actually, it's a part of Austin's history. It's founded by emancipated slaves after the Civil War and evolved into a historic African-American community. Now, you're pulling the kids that currently go in there. We still stay in St. John's. We stay on Bethune Avenue. My kids go to that school, and that's walking distance for us. My husband can take them, whatever. But you're pulling them out of a school and making them relocate to another school. They're 504 students. They're not going to excel the way they were in that school. The teachers, they've been going there since pre-K. They know them. They have intimate relationships and bonds with them. The teachers know the students like the back of their hand. They know them by first name basis. And I feel like if you uproot my kids and put them into Hart or wherever you're trying to go, first of all, half the parents there don't have transportation. They can walk their kids to school. So the parents that do have to work and trust their kids to go across the street, now they're going to be at work wondering how their kids are going to get across the highway. It's a danger issue as well. People don't pay attention at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning when they're driving there in a hurry. So if you take them to another school, I have to worry about, are they going to understand it? Is a teacher going to have that patience to sit with my child and help them to understand it? Not saying that their teachers are not as good as that one, but my kids are not afraid to make mistakes in front of these teachers because of that. And there's another thing. We're not a UA. We're not a 3 UA. We're a 2 UA. So they offered TAP a little bit before Halloween or in October. And we were never given that chance to, I guess, follow through with it. And then the next thing we know, we're being basically, the wall-to-wall is coming to our school, and, I don't feel like that's right. They're going to lose, they're a Title I school. They're going to lose all the benefits that were made for that community to help, like the after-school programs and the free lunch and everything like that. It's for the community, but if you're pulling the kids that are in the community out and sticking them somewhere else, they're not going to get that there. Like, there's a lot of little concerns that I could put the rest on the comment cards, but you're taking a piece of history. You're taking that what was built for the kids in that community, you're removing it from them and misplacing them somewhere else. And it's deeper than that. The teachers, the staff, everybody's amazing there. Like, I don't think that it should be. Zilker said they want a bilingual or a wall-to-wall. Go ahead and make them one. I mean, like she said, we're willing to accept anybody who wants to come. The ESL teachers, the bilingual, the life, they're amazing teachers. Like, they say that we're low in scores a little bit, but the progress I've seen from my kids is amazing over time. I go to all their teacher conference meetings, and they excel so fast, and they're 504 students, and I believe in the special programs they have, but it's going to be confusing. It's traumatic to them. It's like a divorce. You're moving a child from here and putting them over here to stay with mom from dad when they're used to that. And it's a lot. It's going to have an effect on the kids majorly, not just mine, but all the kids. So I think it should be reconsidered.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a quick response to that. Thank you for that comment. And that's what makes this so hard. I mean, I think that's why this is horrible. I mean, I hate that we have to go through any process that moves students, because we have incredible schools that have been doing incredible things, and the UAs, like what the state defines our schools as, I don't see that. When I go to these schools, like, there's incredible things happening. Yes, there's work to be done. Yes, we need to get our students on grade level, but it needs to be done our way. And so when it comes to movement of students to Pickle, or the program to Pickle, we're trying to put structures in place to keep all of our students that are there welcome to the school to benefit from the program, right? I mean, that's why we're adding transportation. That was not part of the original plan. We want our students who are in the Pickle neighborhood to go to the school that was for them. But we also recognize that we can't just build wall-to-wall dual language programs anywhere in the city, because they have to be supported by dual language teachers. And dual language teachers have to be educating emergent bilingual students. It's in our policy, and we're quickly moving to a point where the state law is going to require that every single student have a licensed educator in their classroom. What that's going to mean is, because we have so few dual language educators, I'm going to have to pull those dual language educators out of the wall-to-wall programs that don't have the emergent bilingual student population. So these programs, unless we restabilize and move them, are going to not be viable. Like, that's what we're trying to be in front of years to come. So we want your students to feel welcome. Title I, you made a comment on Title I. I'll be really clear. Like, the Title I status is still going to be retained based on the student population that is going to be at the new school. But I also want to be really clear, Title I dollars come from the federal government, right? The Department of Education has changed. The block grants that we're moving to, based on the grants that we have been receiving by Title I, II, III, and IV, I don't know that we should be counting on them the way that we have been. I've already seen huge disruptions. We've lost about $12 million already, and those are people that are supporting your students, my students, all of our students. So we have to do something. We can't rely on unstable sources of revenue to pay our educational experience. And so that's why the planning comes in. So I don't want you to leave here thinking that we're not going to have those same programs, we're not going to welcome your student into Pickle, or that you're going to lose Title I dollars. Because all those things are yeah. Not necessarily. So that's one of the things where the staffing plan comes to be.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add one thing. This is Dr. Cherry Lee, Assistant Superintendent of Special Education. If you have a few minutes to stay a little bit later, we'd be happy to continue to talk so that you know about the transportation and after-school programming and also support for 504. Okay, thank you.
I'd also like to state that the food program there and the community eligibility provision, which gives breakfast, lunch, and dinner for after-school programs, would still stay as well. And those resources, and Dr. Lewis, she is over student support services as well, and talk about after-school care programs. We were at the Pickle Principal Coffee a couple of weeks ago, and we spoke to those as well. So we'll be glad to talk to you after.
Okay. They did state though that they were going to put a new principal in the school or something, and she was able to basically pick her staff. And of course, she's going to bring her own staff. That's why I say there's going to be a lot of teachers that are assisting with those programs, or know my kids since they started, that are going to be displaced.
So that's why. So I am the one who's going to identify the principal. Just to be clear, that process hasn't started. The vote hasn't occurred. I've been really clear with anybody that has been willing to hear me. My expectation is that the staff that are in our schools are familiar staff of our students. We want familiar faces. We do not want one whole school to come and then everybody move out. That's not how this is going to work. If we're really wanting to be thoughtful about our students who are in that community right now. And so that is why the staffing plan that is structured in our deliverables is so important. The details of it are not yet produced because we don't have a vote and because we don't have the teams working together yet. But don't assume, and I don't want anybody to assume that it's just going to be everybody here goes here. That is not my expectation. That's not how this is going to work. There will be a blend, but it's not going to be just everybody goes. That's not the case. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And because I really want to make sure that your student sees familiar faces. All right.
All right. Thank you so much for.
So, Dusty has a request.
Yes.
Do you want to just tell me? How's interpretation? I mean, that's really the.
I think we have.
Yeah. How many? Our team can stay. I mean, I want to honor it. It's just as a dialogue. It goes long, Dusty. You know that, and so we can have staff stay and answer questions, but interpretation. All the resources to actually ensure that everybody sees it. We're limited at after a certain point. So.
We can stay informally.
Yeah, is what informal? Can we stay informal and stay here and have conversations? Is that okay? Okay. Yeah, and I hope so. I want our community to know, I have been out at all of our schools that are going through a significant transition. I'm continuing to be where I can. I believe in engagement, and hopefully you've seen us make adjustments and pivots over the last many years as we get input from our community. it is a lot. I know a lot of it kind of funnels through me, but we have a lot of people here who are very capable of answering the questions that I would probably answer in the same way. So if it's not me, Lakeisha Drinks, our chief of staff, we have Katrina Montgomery, our chief financial officer, we have Steve. There's everybody here that they're all leaders in the school district, able to answer questions after. Sure. Can we make this? Can we make? Well, they have a student. I think it's important to honor students for sure. Is that okay, Dusty? I know you're gonna. I mean, we have to like really. Okay, we'll do student open, and then we'll go down to informal after. I do think it's important that we hear student voice. I didn't realize that there was a student that was ready to talk. Okay. Hey, you want my mic? Here you go.
Hi, I'm Anusha Tanvir and I'm a student at Garza. My question is about that. Since Garza is a self-placed school, many students are at different points in their studies and some are close to graduating because of their age or personal situations. So, with Garza being relocated and combined with another school, how will district can make sure that we don't face any difficulties in our studies, our grades, and our credits? How can we still be graduated on time? Because Garza is a self-paced and it offers if you're out of your age, I'm 19 and I have to complete my credits till I'm 21 and I have to go to a university. So I'm not asking for all the students of their age and things, but I'm also speaking for my for the staff at Garza who give their best every day to the students, making them understand the topics. So how will that gonna manage, and how you will gonna make sure that we don't face any difficulties and like that? So
yeah, great question. So there is no plan right now. There's only an idea, right? And I want to be really clear to everybody, and I want you to know, when you're in this role that I'm in, and my commitment is to listen to community voice, and when there are ideas, I fully explore them, right? And so there was an idea about perhaps expanding Garza and moving it to Martin, and that was really me trying to be responsive to a couple different things, including wanting to get students at Martin sooner than going through a 2-year process and planning to start a new school. But it was not something that's been brought to trustees. It's not something that we've even been able to engage on. So I want you to know that that is not something that that has progressed very far, right? We're hearing and having conversations around. I mean, I know how incredible Garza is. It's an incredible school. But in the event that there was a change for any student in Austin ISD, we go through and we build out our transition plans. It really focuses on the programming. It focuses on our students, what our students need. We bring communities together to plan, and we build those documents up. And then based on the community and the agreement of those plans, I ensure they get executed, right? Which is why it's important that if we make a decision on anything, it happens in the fall semester so that we plan together through December, January, and February, and then we have the remainder of the spring semester to ensure that it's the right plan for our students, and we execute diligently, and then we launch the 26 school year. So there's not a decision on the table about Garza moving. But if there was a plan for any student that was moving for any school, we would go through that process.
if it will gonna still move, so relocated, so students still face difficulties coming to Garza, and I'm from where I have if I take a bus, I have to change 5 buses to get there, and buses are not even on the time sometimes, so it will gonna cut out my attendance. So that's why I was asking that what about the transportation system that you were going to provide us after that?
Yeah, so this is where hearing voice from community and students, right? Because you're in it, right? We need to hear from you, right? Because if we have to make a decision in any plan, I need to make sure that you are supported. There are some things that we can do, and there are some things that we can't do. But we're going to be really honest about what those are, and we will make every effort to ensure that there is as little of a disruption to you, your educational experience, all the great things that are happening. But I understand that there will be if that was the case. And again, that's not where we are right now with Garza. But that is part of why having a conversation early and planning, because if we need to add transportation, we can add transportation. But it can't be so open-ended to where it creates confusion and then creates other issues in other parts of the city. Because we have similar programs, not Garza specifically, but in any change, I want to be consistent, right? Which is why in some areas, with the wall-to-wall language programs, one of the things we heard around Sanchez was, let's make sure that there's transportation at Sanchez so that our students who are there are welcome. I said, we're going to do it at Sanchez, we're going to do it at Pickle, we're going to do it at Wooten, and we're going to do it at Odom, right? So that we're consistent. So that's how we're doing this work. But again, there's not a plan that's been brought forward that has Garza moving. It was an idea that we're exploring. It was an idea being explored. So, well, because it was in a document. So I want to be really, that's full transparency. No, because the way Zavala and Ortega are being explored, at least initially, I want to be really transparent. If there's a document that has a school name, I'm going to send you an email saying that we are looking at an idea. That's full transparency, right? That's what we're trying to do. As we work through and as we have conversations and as things become clearer, you'll see an email saying, hey, this is not the direction we're going in. But it's been 5 days. We're kind of in a, so I just want you to know that's why the email went. It's not that. So if I didn't send an email out, then the only time it would have come up is on the dais or in a work session, right? And if I did not send an email to our communities that it came up in a work session, then I would not be doing my job. I wanted you and our communities who were talked about in a work session to know that I have been asked to perhaps explore this. And that work session took place the week of Halloween, right? That was that Wednesday. So it is really me trying to just be transparent in what is talked about on the dais, what's talked about in work session, because I think a worse place to be is if it was talked about in the work session, I don't share with you that we're even looking at something, and then all of a sudden a decision be made. So I wanted to that is why we did it this way, and that's what I'm committed to. It may not always be what you want precisely, because we're just not there yet. But that is a commitment of mine.
All right, if I can jump in here, sorry, thank you guys so much for being here today. We've extended the meeting 30 minutes, and at this point, our translation services have ceased. So to make sure we have equity of voice and ability to communicate, what we're going to do, some leaders have said that they can stay a few more minutes for informal conversations, but we do have to adjourn at this time. So thank you very much for your time. Comments are still being accepted online via the comment card, as well as through the mechanisms for today. Thank you so much, and have a great afternoon.